Some straight men are attracted to trans women who haven't had bottom surgery. This is very disconcerting and confusing to women when they find this out, because they think, well, if she hasn't had bottom surgery, then, and you want to play with that part of her, then you can't be 100% straight. But that doesn't make sense, because you have to remember that these are still women. Trans women are women. They are female.
Maybe if I shrug my shoulders and move around my hands like this, maybe people will think I know what I'm talking about.
So I had to make this real quick. I saw this over the weekend. These homosexuals are getting out of control with this, especially the white ones. I saw this video, and I mean, it's like insanity at this point. You have these homosexual people coming out saying, "Hey guys, if you like find out." If I don't even know how to word this, it's so psychotic and irrational and illogical. If you like this person and if you like this person and you find out that this person has a cock and balls, and you decide to fuck the person and play with their cock and balls, well, that doesn't make you a homosexual anymore because I said so. If you're a man and you love sucking on cock and balls, well, because I said it, you're not a homo anymore. That you're a normal heterosexual man. These white people are just like seriously, these people, white LGBT has so much power now that they literally think that they're gods, that they can alter reality and control reality. I think they all think that they hold the reality stone in their anus, and if they clench enough, they can just, like how Thanos snaps his finger, they can just alter reality by clenching their rectums. I don't get it at this point. This guy's, if some guys like trans women, but if the trans woman has a dick tip, well, and you like the dick tip, well, that's fine. You're still a normal heterosexual man. You're not a homosexual because I said you're not. Who are you? Oh, I'm white. That shit is insanity. You're just gonna alter or change reality as you see fit. And whatever suits you, you can just change reality just by speaking the words. Dude, this shit is hilarious, and this is one of the reasons why black men don't trust therapists, and we don't waste our time with therapy. I mean, this is one of the reasons. I mean, one of the main reason is therapy is a joke. It's not a real science. That's why the DSM, whatever that book is called, is constantly going through changes. There's always fucking changes. I have family members who studied to be psychologists, and I had this discussion with them, and I'm like, well, it can't be that accurate of a science because you can't just make changes every couple years. Then it's not an accurate science, because what you were initially teaching as doctrine is wrong. So you had to change it. If it's constantly wrong, then it shouldn't be considered a science. You don't constantly make changes to math. I mean, you may make updates to make it easier, but you don't change the core concepts of math because it's a fucking science. You don't it doesn't go through those changes. But this psychological training, or whatever they want to call it, is constantly going through fucking changes. What is the DSM at? Volume 7 now? People got all these fucking different changes that they have to make. So that in itself is just, therapy is, you can't really, I mean, you can study certain parts of people's behavior, certain chemical changes that go through the body, certain electric charges that happen when the brain does this, that, or the third. But you can't really study the brain of a living person because they would die. So you can't really study the brain of somebody. So you can't really study it. So then if you can't really study it, then it's, in my mind, it's not a science, because you can't really, you're kind of like guessing at a lot of stuff. A lot of this is guesswork. So therapy in itself is not a joke, but it's kind of a joke, because there's nothing wrong with sitting down and talking to somebody and getting counsel from someone. But the reason that I call therapy a joke is because you're not getting counsel from people that are necessarily smart enough to give you counsel. You just get a lot of, when you talk about therapists and therapy work, you're getting counsel from people who were just taught something by someone, by a group who doesn't really believe this own shit that they're saying, because again, their book is constantly going through all of these changes. But then you go into stuff like this. The psychiatric community as a whole, whatever you want to call them, psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, all of these different people that work with how how emotions work and the mind works, and trying to talk with people and give people therapy for their social, their emotional and psychological issues. That whole community, when they hear a man like this who just outwardly just comes out and says, well, if you're a man and you like sucking dick, you're not a homo anymore because I just said it and I just changed reality. When that type of talk happens, the psychiatric community agrees with him. According to them, this shit isn't insane. It's not irrational or illogical. It's just normal. And why is it normal? Well, because a bunch of wealthy white homosexuals decided to use their money to change the rules. So they use their money to make alterations to the DSM, because they didn't like what was being said before, so they just bribed their way in and made changes. And so now, just because someone can pay to make changes, well, now the whole psychiatric community and the mental health community, well, they just throw everything to the wind, which means I'm not going to listen to you and take counsel from you if you're telling me that a nut job like this is fucking credible. You don't hear any psychologists, psychiatrists, or therapists, not enough of them, not even a lot of them, not even some of them, coming out and saying that this whole tranny wave is psychotic. None of them are coming out saying that this whole thing about, oh, I can be a woman just by saying it, or I can be a man just by saying it. If I'm a woman and I get pregnant, I'm not a woman because I said I'm a man, and I can just say it and it becomes reality. None of them are coming out and saying, yeah, this is a little psychotic. It's akin to schizophrenia. It's something we normally would call mentally wrong, and we would normally offer people therapy and help to overcome this psychosis. None of them are coming out and saying that. They're all like, yeah, well, this is normal, and because someone will take away my ability to make money, I'm not going to state the obvious and state facts. I'm just going to go along with the psychotic fairy tales that are being told. So if those are the type of people giving therapy and counsel, why the fuck would I go to you for therapy and counsel? You can't give me accurate counsel. Because you don't have any specific rules that you follow. You ignore reality yourself. If the reality goes against your ability to make money for yourself, you will disregard it. So then why would I listen to you? Who knows what kind of toxic shit you'll say to me or say about me once I've left your office. This is why we don't go to therapy, because nobody's calling this shit out. This lunatic just comes out of nowhere and just says, well, because I'm a white homosexual and I don't like the way I feel when people talk about reality. Well, guess what? I'm just going to change reality by speaking words. Are these guys fucking magicians? These guys will like make the best wizards in D&D, because all they have to do is speak, and it's like they're saying a spell. All they have to do is say, put their hands together and say, I say that now the rules of homosexuality has changed, and you are no longer homosexual unless you do something that I say is homosexual. And then the spell is done. It's just psychotic. And then the way people will just, humanity has been so indoctrinated because of propaganda that if a white person talks a certain way and says certain things in a certain way, people believe it. Just be like, oh yeah, well, the white man said it. Or a white woman said it, so it's got to be true. This guy's just speaking as if he's the authority on reality. I really can't get over this. And I just had to make this real quick. I didn't mean to go on this long. I just wanted to make this real quick because I saw this and I'm like, dude, the do these people honestly believe this shit that they're saying, or are they just that demented that they think that they'll say it and stupid people will just fall in line? I don't know which one it is at this point, or maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe they're a bit psychotic, and they think that, oh well, I have the right or the authority to just tell people what the new reality is. I mean, all this time since the beginning of humanity, if you are a man and you have intercourse with another man, well, you are. They didn't use the word homosexual, but you are different from normal heterosexual men that have intercourse with women. Now, all of a sudden, that just like overnight, just gonna change the rules that have been in place since the beginning of of humanity. Now, if you have intercourse with a man, I guess if you don't like I think I think this guy thinks that even if you're having, even let's say you considered yourself a heterosexual man and you go and meet an actual homosexual man who he says is a man, he identifies as a man, he has a cock and balls, and you have intercourse with him. I think what he's saying is if you don't like the stigma of being called a homosexual, you can just say that you're not homosexual. I think that's what he's saying. If you don't like how something sounds, then you can just change reality by saying that you're not what that thing is. So if I'm a criminal, if I go and break into a store and I steal something, I knock the store owner over the head and crack his skull and he dies, and I still take the money out of the register and I run out, I'm assuming that when I go to court, I could just tell the judge that I don't identify as a criminal or as a murderer. I don't identify as those things. I identify as a innocent, decent member of society, and I'm assuming the judge has to just let me go because I said it. All right, this is going on too long. This LGBT thing is getting out of control, and to my normal sane normal sane homosexual brothers and sisters, you guys got to start calling this stuff out too, because they're making you all look bad. I know that obviously this isn't just a normal part of homosexual society or the homosexual community. I know a good number of you don't believe in this psychotic stupidity, but you guys are not talking out against it. So this irrational, illogical, stupid talk is now being attributed to just homosexuals in general, and that's because you guys aren't speaking up for it, speaking up against it. So I don't know. Figure it out.
What's so funny?
You are, you stupid dick.